your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Reverend Dr. D, and today we are going to open up a new world, and one that I kind of like. We're going to be talking with a science fiction writer, award winner as well, and her name is Jordan Keller, all the way from, I believe it is Cincinnati, Ohio. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Yep, Cincinnati. Proud to be here. Thank you.
Your latest work has to do with adventures, has to do with something I really enjoy. When my wife and I were living in Santa Barbara, I always loved going out to the beach, and even more so if we were going to go whale watching. I went fishing once with a buddy of mine. I love being out on the water, and your latest work is A Sea of Ships and Souls. Now, this is a science fiction, or it's a fiction book, and it's designed primarily for young people in the preteen teen years?
Yep, that's correct. My other novels were a little older, more geared towards like younger adults, people out of like school and everything. And when I would do author signings and parents would come with their kids, they would ask if I had anything kid friendly. And although my books are, there's not a lot of like swearing or like sex scenes or anything, but they did tackle heavier themes. And so I really wanted to write a more kid-friendly centric book. And that was part of the inspiration behind the Sea of Ships and Souls.
Yeah, I know the other one, the other science fiction book I saw there was, I believe it's Failing Gravity.
Failing Gravity, yeah.
Failing Gravity, yeah. It reminds me of a movie, maybe you've seen it, it's a science fiction film. Oh boy. Now I can't remember the title of the film. The premise is this: 2 planets are so closely aligned with one another that that there has been an elevator that has been constructed to connect the 2 planets.
Ooh.
Now, bear in mind, they have their own gravity. So if you were born on planet 1,
Mm-hmm.
I want to say twin something, but that may not be right. In any event, if you were born on planet A, you are subject to the gravity of planet A. However, you can go to planet B, but you must carry with you, in a pocket or what have you, this particular mineral that allows your body to accommodate the new gravitational pull. Otherwise, without it, you are being pulled away from the planet surface of planet B towards planet A.
That's really cool. I'll have to look up that film.
Oh my goodness. I wish I could remember the Then anyway, there's several layers in it. There's a love story,
Of
and then
course.
there's the technical aspect of it, and it just is it's so fascinating. So that sounds seems to me failing gravity might be an interesting twist on that. How
Mhm.
did you get involved with writing in the first place? Because you've been doing it obviously long enough to have won a number of different awards
Mhm.
for your writing.
So I've always been attracted to stories and storytelling. And in third grade, like my first vivid memory of writing, we had a class project where you had to write a 3 paragraph fable myth that you've created. And my 3 pages or my 3 paragraphs turned into 6 pages. And I feel like I've had the writing bug ever since. So throughout elementary and high school, I would write in spiral bound notebooks instead of playing outside for recess. I would get home and type them up. And but after high school, when I was going to college, I didn't think I could make a career out of it. And so I tried my hand at chemistry, failed terribly at it, and found myself in the journalism department of my college at Morehead State University. Fell in love with journalism, fell in love with the stories I would hear while working through the radio, working through the newspaper. And it wasn't until then I sort of allowed myself to reimagine what life would look like as a writer. And so I started playing around more with fantasy worlds and more of the creative aspect. And before I knew it, I had written 30,000 words of my first book, Wildfire, over there. And I thought I owed it to myself to try to make it. And so I rewrote the book, made it a full novel, went through the whole editing, querying, publishing steps. And so it expand from a love of stories and moving on to this thirst, this need to continue to writing stories, and not even to write to be famous or write to make a name for myself, but just to share these stories that I love so much with other people. And I hope other people can love them too.
Is there any connection between your book, science fiction book Wildfire, and Michael Murphy, his song Wildfire?
There is not.
Okay, no horse
No horse.
involved.
Nope,
All
nope.
right, there you go. I love science fiction. There was a paperback that, I mean, and it was a thick paperback.
Mhm.
It was called the Prometheus Project.
Oh yeah,
You're familiar with
I
it.
am. Yep.
And now, just so you have this point of reference, I was born legally blind, and in
Oh.
'96 I got a lens implant. But before that, when I was in high school, I found that book by, I believe it was written by Frank Herbert,
Mhm.
and I had to hold the book. This was way before Kindle, ladies and gentlemen. This was in the '70s, and my magnifying glass in the other hand. So it was a real juggling act. I
Yeah.
couldn't put it down. Now, here's the irony. I can't really remember exactly. I know it had something to do with a rocket and space travel and so forth.
Mhm.
That's about all I remember. But it was one of those things that just hooked me.
Yeah.
Many years later, I found out about another science fiction book called Stranger in a Strange Land.
Oh.
I bought the book. Again, a thick volume. I tried. I really, really tried. It's almost like picking up Ulysses and trying to read that.
Yeah.
Now, I have both Stranger in a Strange Land and Ulysses on Audible, so I can listen to them. But when I did find Stranger in a Strange Land, I read it through, and of course, I loved it. I loved the dramatization with the narrator, with the reader. Um, no spoiler alert here, folks, but I did not care for the ending. I thought, no, you can't end it like that. No. But the story was just incredible. It was
Yeah.
just so much fun. And there was one word in there that I use on a regular basis when talking about things of this nature with you and others in regards to the contents of your book, the message that you're wanting to get across in your writing, and that has to do with the word. I think I'll use it this way: to grok, and I define it as to assimilate into every subatomic particle of your being. You don't
Okay.
you don't just understand. You know that you know that you know.
Yeah.
Oh, have you come across work such as that that just kicked you in the brain and said, and you just went, "Wow."
Yeah. The
Dune
first
is
book.
another one that comes to mind
Oh,
since we're
Dune
talking
is so
about
good. Yeah.
when I read that I'm going, where is this guy's mind? Oh my God, it's so complex. I mean, you have all of the different layers: economic, political, religious, metaphysical. It was just incredible, the detail. And then of course the movies come out, and
Mhm.
they did fair justice to it, but I will tell you, this is my favorite screen, my mind.
No one makes a better book movie than as you're reading it and what's going on in your head. Oh. But
Hmm.
a book that came to mind when you were discussing that was the Raven Boys, or the the series is called The Raven Cycle. And the first
Mhm.
book is The Raven Boys by Maggie Water, and it's like every sentence is just so deliciously written. You just like whenever I reread it, I feel like I just chew over the same sentence over and over again. It's just so like masterfully like equal parts whimsical and equal parts like craft excellence in terms of how to write. Um, yeah, like that's a book that it's always in my head. It's always like gripping me, and like I probably listen to the audiobook once or twice a year. Um,
So
I
you've been
adore it.
writing from a very early age.
Mhm.
You actually have a quote which I really like. Now, even I was writing in high school, Southwest literature class.
Ooh.
Mr. Miller. Oh, you talk about people that have been in your life that have been influential. He was unbelievably influential. But you have a quote on your website that says, "You must be drunk on writing so reality cannot destroy you." Ray Bradbury.
Yep, it's one of my favorites.
Now, what I find so interesting about that quote in this day and age in which we live, now I've been around for a brief, scant puff of smoke, 66 years on the planet, okay? And I think about all the stuff that's going on today, and how we have access to it, as well as I will be kind and say, the variations of
It's
what's going on, all right, and
a very
why.
kind word for it.
And I'm thinking, wouldn't it just be better if we all just were writing stories that had nothing to do with this reality? We live here, yeah, but I'm really kind of tired of hearing about it.
Mhm.
Do you
Um,
find yourself getting lost in your writing, or when you, I'm sure, read other works by other authors, obviously you have, you are able to disconnect, in a manner of speaking, your body, mind, and soul from this reality and go somewhere else and just be drawn in? Or have there been some writings that didn't quite take you there? It's like they kind of left you on the outskirts, because I know not everybody
mhm.
is the storyteller.
100%. I've used all my writing as a way to escape, whether it be personal situations that I'm just not ready to handle, or like outside situations that I really don't want to pay attention to just yet. Writing has always been sort of a crutch, a little world I can teleport into and just kind of relax and play around in a safer environment, instead of dealing with all the things going on.
What about, because I talked about Dune and its layers, all of the
Mhm.
different layers. What about the way you compose a piece? In this case, obviously, we're talking today about a sea of ships and souls, which we'll
Yeah.
dive into. But do you find yourself, like, let's say, Frank Herbert in Dune, creating those different layers, not necessarily maybe to that depth, but at least in terms of maybe the metaphysical, the economic, the religious, the social, the educational, et cetera, et cetera? Or do you try to not go quite that deep because you don't want necessarily the reader to have to maybe process and think too
Mhm.
much?
So I never intentionally try to go deep into any like social, economical, political, or economical situation,
Mhm.
just because I never feel like I'm equipped with enough knowledge to present it in a way.
Mhm.
But whenever I'm writing and whenever I go back and start editing, I'll see bits of real life in there, and it's hard to avoid not letting the real world affect your writing. And it's more of like a personal thing I put into A Sea of Ships and Souls. While I was writing it, I was trying to get my first book published, and the constant rejection of the publishing world was really weighing on me. And so I wrote Jace in such a way that no matter what came his way, he was always able to overcome it, always say yes, and keep pursuing the stream of his.
Mm.
And I didn't realize that connection until years later when the book did get accepted for publishing and I was going through editing and re-cleaning it up. And I saw the similarities between me and him. And so even without intentionally doing it, whatever I'm dealing with at the time always seems to reflect into into my main characters at the time of writing.
So in other words, your life, your real life adventure, so to speak,
Mhm.
tends to find its way onto the page of your
Yeah.
writings. That's
Even like,
interesting.
yeah, and it's always subconsciously. I never go into a project thinking like, I'm going to make sure this happens because it just happened to me. Or,
Mm. Yeah. I want to, I'm going to have on this program well, not the representative. This, I think she would be considered the CEO of Merrill Moss Media, which
oh,
is yeah, I know her very well, as a matter of fact, and she is going to assist me in a process that I got into, and I want to ask you about your experiences in this regard. But before I do that, I want to reintroduce you. She is, I should say, Jordan S. Keller. And she has a website. It's jordanskellerauthor.com, where you can find out about all of the other works and also read that wonderful quote. She's a Cincinnati-based writer whose love for stories started at a young age when she preferred to write in a spiral-bound notebook that then played outside at recess rather than playing outside at recess. And I can kind of relate to that in one level. We're gonna, yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, I've been in radio for a long time, and we'll be back in just a couple of moments here on Tell Me Your Story. But before we come back, I want to remind you are listening to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. We're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And I would venture, Jordan, that your dreams have come true in a certain respect, that you're doing what you love doing.
yeah.
Um, Again, I'm going to kind of go down this list. You're living where you love living. You're living with someone you love living with, and the family and so forth. Uh, and that there probably aren't too many things that are in your life that you wish that you could change, because I don't want to say that it's a perfect life, but it ain't bad.
No, I'm very lucky, very grateful to be where I'm at, do what I love, be surrounded by people who love me and I love them. The only thing I would change is the current pollen count outside. It's got my nasal. I am so sneezy today.
Oh,
Um,
well, I know that's coming for us. Well, actually, we're getting some heat here on this day that we're conversing.
oh,
Well, I live up a mile high in Twin Peaks, Arizona, California, which is
mhm.
near Lake Arrowhead. And, 80 degrees isn't bad, because my psychological processing is, hey, it has to go through the 60s and then the 70s just to peak at 80s. And then it's going to
Yeah.
come down. And we're in the shade of pine trees all around us. So
Oh,
it ain't bad. I'm
no.
not complaining. And we bought a house and we're having a great time. And it brings to mind something. I wanted to touch on this and get your observations on this. One of my guests just recently, he wrote a book similar to mine. Mine is Choices, 5 Steps for Life. His is Always at Choice. And we were chatting away, and he says, well, I want you to go to page 149 of my book. I want you to read that. It's just a 2-page thing, not very long. And I'm not going to read it. I'm going to paraphrase. It's a piece of wisdom. And I read it to my wife, and she said, yeah, we're doing that. We're doing that. So now I got to tell you what the story is,
Yeah.
basically. There's this gentleman. He's on vacation down in a small coastal village down in Mexico. And he sees down at the end of the dock this guy. He's pulling up in his little fishing boat, pulling up there and tying off and everything. And so the guy walks down there and basically sees that the guy has like 3 yellowtail tuna in his boat, right?
Yeah.
And he says, how you doing? I said, oh, I'm doing very, very good, very good. And so how long did it take you to catch those? Oh, it didn't take long. Didn't take long. So, what do you do when you're not fishing? He says, and he went down this list of where he goes home, he plays with his kids, He has a
Mhm.
siesta with his wife. Then later on in the evening, they take a walk down to the village to have a little wine, play his guitar and sing, and so forth. He says, "Well, you know what? I know you only caught those three there, but you should go back out there and catch some more. And of course, then you can use that money to buy another boat, maybe another couple of boats, and really start raking in the dollars, and then you can get a fleet of boats, and then you can open your own business where you have you own your own cannery." And then you, of course, can move up to L.A. and then to New York City and so on and so forth and on and on and on. And you probably would be able to make millions of dollars with this stuff by serving your fish, in this case the tuna, to restaurants all over the place. And of course, the guy says, "Wait, after that, what? Then what? Then what do we do? Then what?" He says, "Well, then you go public, and you sell your business for millions of dollars." I said, "Well, after I get the millions of dollars, then what?" "Well, then you retire and you move to a small coastal village where you play with your kids and you have a siesta with your wife and you do a little fishing and you go into the village and have a glass of wine and play your guitar." And of course, the moral of the story is, why would you leave that which you love doing
Yeah.
to pursue the money to end up right where you are right now?
Right. Having to take so much time away from doing what you love just to do it again.
And I don't want to go too far here because I want to get your observations on this. I received an email about 2 weeks ago. Now, I'm not violating any confidences or documents I might have signed as far as do not disclose or whatever they call it,
Mhm.
NDR or whatever it is called. Non-disclosure, yeah. I got an email from someone who claimed to be a literary agent.
Ooh.
And I'm thinking, I would really like to expand. I mean, I'm not looking to make millions off of my book, but
Mhm.
boy, just what he's offering and suggesting. Now, bear in mind, last summer when we were moving from Santa Barbara, we nearly were scammed 3 times, almost costing $3,500.
Holy
Almost,
moly.
almost didn't happen. But I'm skittish. But I'm thinking 2026, and this is the year of really expanding and going out. So I followed up, chatted with the guy on the phone. We talked, and I went ahead and I signed his little agreement with a 30-day out.
Mhm.
And he got me connected with a couple of people with a couple of well-known publishing companies
Ooh.
offering 6-digit
Ooh.
advance.
Yeah.
And I get on the phone with the gentleman from the publishing company, and one of the things, the first red flag was, I was talking to him about a movie treatment of my book, which I'm not thinking, no, that's not my kind of book. I mean, if you
Yeah.
want to make a documentary, that would be different, but. And he made reference to the fact that my book was a book of poetry. It's not,
Yeah.
which led me to believe he had never ever seen the book, let alone read it. That was the first red flag. The second was I received his letter of intent with all of those, all the different elements, including the advance. And they wanted me to sign that thing in 5 days.
Ooh.
And I'm going, so I'm on the phone with him that Wednesday in the middle of those 5 days. I says, look, I don't work this way. I don't work under pressure.
Especially for something that like life
Yeah.
changing, essentially.
Yeah.
5 days is crazy.
So the long and the short of it is that on St. Patrick's Day, I created, using AI of all things, a letter terminating my arrangement with the literary agent, saying, I'm sorry, but I don't work under pressure like that, like
Hmm.
that. I've worked under pressure before, but not like that, where I'm being pressured to make a decision that, especially regarding money, I don't have.
Right.
And his response back was, I agree with your decision.
So,
Now, now, I'm not asking you this, is more rhetorical. Did I
mhm.
throw away a real opportunity with a real publishing company? You know what? After reading that story of Larry Freeborg from his book, I made the right decision. And then, of course, I spoke with someone that I mentioned to you earlier, with another PR firm, and she agreed 100%. It was probably a scam,
Mhm.
but it only lasted for about 10 days. Didn't cost me anything more than one thing that I went through. And I'm curious, I don't want to go too far into the detail of this, but the one thing I did get out of it, I did spend $65 of my own money for getting the copyright through the copyright office
Mhm.
for my book. Now, I've been told that, well, but you have the copyright if you published it, even if you self-published it through Amazon, it's yours, you know. But I figured maybe I'll put it on the wall in a frame.
Just to prove it.
I'm curious about your process because you have a few
Mhm.
books there and how you go through this process. First of all, are you self-published or do you have a publishing company that you kind of work in concert with?
Yeah, so I'm traditionally published. I've worked with two publishing companies. The first one's done all the Wildfire series books and Failing Gravity, and a new publishing company picked up A Sea of Ships and Souls. So I've worked with two different companies, but the same agent has sort of brokered the deals
Mhm.
between all five books. And
Ha-
how it,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry.
Oh,
So
go,
say
please
how
go
it
ahead.
goes is once I finish a manuscript that I think has some legs on it, I'll send it over to my agent, see if she likes the idea of it. And then if she gives me the green light, I'll make sort of a business proposal that she'll then make it 10 times better than what I could do. And she'll send it and the manuscript to different publishing companies that she's worked with that she thinks would be a good fit for the book. And then we'll just kind of broker deals that way to see which house wants to pick up the work, which house would be most beneficial,
Mm.
what would make great partnerships to move forward with other books. So I'm very fortunate that my agent takes care of all that like business legwork that I feel
Mhm.
like a lot would go over the top of my head,
Yeah.
especially in the early days.
Now, how did you begin that process? How did you link up with this
Yeah.
particular agent and then begin this process? What told you I need to I need to do a little bit more. I need to get somebody else who knows the workings, the ins and outs, because I'm a writer, not a literary agent.
Right. So when I finished Wildfire, I didn't want to self publish because at that time there was still this negative vibe towards self publishing for some reason. And I thought, well, I have to be traditionally published or it won't be worth it, which was incorrect thinking. If you want to be the self published route, there's nothing wrong with it. But so I got the book as pretty as I could make it. I got my query letter, my cover letter, all the stuff that you would send to prospective agents that so they get a taste of who you are and what your book is. And it was sort of a Cinderella story. So I started querying and I kept getting rejection after rejection. And I rewrote the book a couple times. I rewrote my query package a couple times and still got rejected. And I told myself, if I don't get it within a year, then we'll go the self publishing route. And I'd started doing information on how to do that. And then on the 11th month, like halfway through the month, I met my agent, Nancy, through another writer, and he
Mhm.
connected us. And just the way she approached me and the work felt so loving, felt so genuine. I just really liked working with her.
Mm.
So I signed my contract with her, gave her the not the rights to the book, but like the rights to sell it,
Publish.
publish it. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
she reached out to a couple publishing houses that she'd worked with. And this one, the publisher that ended up taking it, they didn't do a lot of science fiction just yet. So it was kind of a step out of their comfort zone, a step out of my comfort zone, but they've been phenomenal to work with. I've loved every step of the way with them.
Mm.
And so from like signing the contract with my agent to book in hand after the publisher got it was about a 2 year process. And so all in all, it probably took about 4 years between writing the end on the first manuscript to holding the book.
Mm. How did that feel, the very first book that you had published? And when you got the box, I don't know if you had a box of
Yeah.
books or just one single copy. How did that feel when you
Oh my
opened that up and
gosh.
held
Yeah.
that which you had been working on for so long?
So I first got a single copy and it had like not for resale, author copy only, all taped up on it.
Yeah.
And right just to read through it, make sure everything was okay on it. And I remember like I couldn't breathe. Like I was holding this book, like, oh my gosh, like these are my words, these are my characters, it's in my hand. I actually did it. And I still like that book came out, gosh, almost 5 years ago. And I still am waiting to wake up and like, oh my gosh, it's just been a great dream that I had that my book was published. So it's still just so awe inspiring and like unbelievable to me at times. And I do a lot of self marketing, and so I'll read through the pages to find a quote that I want to put on Instagram or something, and like I'll surprise myself, like, oh my gosh, I wrote this, like that's such a good sentence, and I made it. Um, so yeah, so it just makes me so giddy, and like from day one holding that first author coffee book to day 5 years later signing copies for people in bookstores and stuff, I'm still just so blown away. um, yeah, it still feels like a dream.
Jordan S. Keller, author.com is the website. My guest is Jordan Keller, and we will continue our conversation with her as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Reverend Dr. D. She is Jordan Keller, and I really am excited about the prospects, and especially some of the things that you have shared that I'm learning. That's one of the most fascinating things. And I have to say that my wife and I were a little dejected when I ended up having to do what I did. I made the right decision,
Yeah.
but I felt it was necessary for me to go down that path as long as I didn't make any serious commitments, signing other than that one 30-day out
Hmm.
document. Because when I did talk with this other gal that we're going to have on the program, I guess I can say Meryl Moss, we're going to have her on in the not too distant future here to talk about this whole process. When we were done, and she asked me, so, well, how is your book done? And I went through that process of the
Hmm.
whole self-publishing thing. By the way, I received 10 rejections in the self-publishing process before I was able to publish.
Oh
Now,
my
you go ahead
gosh.
and figure that one out. How is it that an individual who is self-publishing gets rejected? Not possible. It's a
No.
joke. It's a joke. Anyway, um, I learned a lot, not only in terms of because I'm a trusting individual, and I want to believe people when
Yeah.
they tell me things,
Because
you know.
why shouldn't you trust them? Oh,
Yeah. But unfortunately, in this day and age, with the internet the way that it is and the way it's been so corrupted, Neil deGrasse Tyson made a comment about AI, for example, and he basically predicted that AI will be the death of the internet because nobody will trust it because you
oh,
can't know for certain that
yeah.
what you are reading or what you are looking at, even video, is real.
It's such a scary place to be in.
Now, I'm curious, does AI play any part whatsoever in the creation of the stories that you write?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I always put my foot down. Like AI was cool in the beginning, like, oh, I'll make this funny picture, but like
Mhm.
it has no place in my writing, my creative process, my ideas. I think
Mhm.
it's very important to have that strong stance against it as a creative, or else you're just sort of giving it permission to take your place and to create these worlds and stories that you should be creating on your own. So I understand it can be a helpful research tool in research fields, but
Mhm.
I don't think it has any place in the creative space.
There's an author I interviewed who also writes science fiction, and he uses AI, but he was very, very clear with me. And then when we started the interview, because that was what it was about, using the AI in one's writing and creating,
Hmm.
I said, I have a bias. I don't like it. I mean,
Hmm.
I've been doing this for over almost 50 years, 47 years, being in broadcasting. I'm a very creative individual. I do not need that kind of outside source. I might get ideas from my wife, from my
Hmm.
coworkers, from my family, from other sources such as that. But in the final analysis, it's going to be me that's going to put the words down, whether it's in my book choices or something else.
Yeah.
But he says this is how he uses it. And he only uses it once for each book. It creates the first draft. And then he takes that and he goes through it and he then changes it, modifies it, tweaks it, et cetera, so
Just
that
gave
it
me the
truly
heebies.
becomes his. So he has a framework to work with.
Hmm.
So, how do you begin the process when you have an idea, regardless of which series it is,
Hmm.
in terms of an outline or bullet points? What's your beginning process?
Yeah. So I'm a pantser. If you've heard that phrase, you fly by the seat of your pants. I
Ah,
usually, yep. I know a couple characters. I know a couple middle scenes. I think I know where the book ends, and I just dive in. I start writing. It's a very exploratory process of figuring out where the plot's going to lead these characters, who these characters really are. I usually have a couple of songs that really inspire either the characters or the plot or the setting. So I'm kind of writing towards the music. And then once I finish, I call it a trash draft. And it's just this probably 30,000 words of mush. I'll go in and outline that way, figure out what scenes need beefing up, what I'm missing in terms of character arcs or plot developments. And then the second draft is more of my first draft, and I'll rewrite the entire manuscript and make it look like I knew what I was doing in that first draft. And then I'll clean up that draft, and then I usually send it to alpha readers or beta readers, people who are in the creative spaces that I trust to give me adequate feedback to know what's not working, what's working well. And then I'll do another draft, and then I'll send that to a developmental editor. And after that, then I'll send it to my agent. Sorry. So it's about a 5 draft process, and it starts with just, I think I know what this is going to be like. And 9 times out of 10, it does not stay that way. But I really enjoy that exploratory, I call it a first date with this book, and like figure out if we've got a good connection together, me and the book. And if it's something I want to continue on, or if it was just, I just really wanted to write this one scene with this one character, and it doesn't really make a whole book. So a lot of it's a lot of like start and stops in the beginning.
Well, this particular work, in regards to a sea of ships and souls,
Mhm.
incorporates a lot of very interesting and intriguing elements. In addition, obviously, to a ship at sea and so forth, in this mystical ocean, which I
Mhm.
find fascinating. You also have this I'll call it a magical or magic amulet of sorts. Uh, I'm curious as to one of the things that I found so fascinating, and I'm trying to remember which book it was in, and it could have been any one of a number. But in a lot of them, they will have something like that, and you don't have to give this away. But in some other books, what ends up happening is the person who is carrying this thing, that supposedly has this magical quality that is helping them to achieve the things that they are during the storyline, comes to find out that that amulet or magical thing had nothing to do with their ability to
Yeah.
accomplish what they accomplished, that it was all inside of them. Talk to us about, and again, I don't want to give it away because I want people to read the book. But in terms of something like that, do you find that that is really something that is true? That, I mean, I'm a person, metaphysical person, who I like crystals, and we do,
Mhm.
saging and smudging, and we do those kinds of things, and some rituals here and there, along with some of the rituals, especially around this time of the year with Lent, and even
Mhm.
around holidays with Advent at the end of the year and so forth, because I was born and raised Catholic, and I love the ritual and the tradition and the ceremony. But what we end up finding out is that it's always been within us.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So it's no spoilers. It happens in chapter 1. The main character, he gets this magic amulet, and he realizes it's fake from the get-go. Like, it's supposed to be made of these gemstones, and it's all sea glass. So he knows it's fake, but he doesn't tell anyone, and he still hopes that it gives him this power that it's supposed to. And I kind of akin it to almost like a lucky rabbit's foot, or like a lucky pair of underwear, or like a lucky bracelet you'll wear, and just something that makes you believe you have that additional luck. Just a physical reminder that, like, yep, I'm here, I can do this, I have what I need. And sometimes you just need that little whimsy, that little magic, to help you believe. My house is full of crystals too. I do tarot readings and everything, and it's always been
Really?
the yeah.
Wow.
Um, it's always been the intent. So, like, if you go into a reading, or if Jace goes into this magical item with the intent of finding what he's looking for, you'll naturally come to a solution, or the goal that you're wanting to do. So that intention was very important in the book, and for Jace to believe that this crappy little brooch he found, will make him a big old hero, like it's supposed to, like the legends say.
Hmm. Now, how about you in your own personal life? You've already mentioned some elements within your life, but did you ever feel that you needed to have something outside yourself to accomplish the things that you wanted, or did you always have that innate, or I don't know if it was learned ability to do basically whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah. I grew up with with very supportive parents. I have my mom, my stepdad, my real dad, my stepmom, and so everyone's always been cheering me on and pushing me to fight these goals. So I was always blessed to have that behind me. But then I this isn't going to sound as awesome. I do a lot of things out of spite, and so when I first started writing Wildfire, someone on the internet said, "Oh, I'll never make a book," and I'm like, "Well, I'm going to prove this random stranger who I'll never meet again wrong." And through the power of spite. And when I got my first couple of rejection letters trying to find an agent and a publisher, they like, no, no, no. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do it just to prove you wrong. And so this very like positive upbringing with all this support through my parents mixed with this determination through spite to prove people wrong. That's kind of that's what pushed me to make sure I could achieve these dreams and not give up when the going got tough.
And what is the foundational or core goal of your writing? Because with the example I gave earlier, I was very clear and I said, the money sounds great, but that's not really the reason why
Yeah.
I want to to go in this direction. What's your what drives you forward aside
Mm-hmm.
from spite?
Aside from spite, just being able to share stories. I got into writing with the dream of publishing, not to make a lot of money, not to be rich. I'm very fortunate in the position right now. I'm breaking about even per book. So the money that goes into these early edits that I do and like promotional material. So I'm starting to break even, which is really cool. But just to share stories, my dad put it in a way that's like I'm immortal in a sense. Like when the time comes and I'm dead, like my books will still be around. And
Mhm.
so I hope the ideals and the messages I put into my books, those will stick around. And if anyone needs a little extra push or a little extra support, they'll find it in my works. Failing Gravity, it starts out really dark, but ends really hopeful. And so with that book, I really hope like if people in a dark place find it, they can find that hope. And maybe that was the support they needed. So just hoping that when I'm gone, but people can still find kindness and support in my writing. That would
Mm.
be really cool.
Jordan Keller is our guest, and we're talking about the work that she has created, A Sea of Ships and Souls. And we're talking about all of this here on Tell Me Your Story. I am Reverend Dr. D. She is Jordan Keller, and we're talking about the work that she's doing. JordanSKeller.com is the website, and let me phrase that JordanSKellerAuthor.com. That's JordanSKellerAuthor.com. That is the website we will be linked to as well.
Thank you.
Um, I'm curious, I love talking with people about where they come from and even where they are philosophically.
Mhm.
I'm curious now, you've gotten an incredible amount of support, as you've already stated, from your family and friends and so forth. Not so much from the trolls on the internet, as they are called.
Right.
Take that, you trolls. Um, but what are your philosophical underpinnings in that regard? How were you raised, and where are you today?
Yeah. So there. So yeah. How was I raised? Um, I feel like I was always a kid in an adult setting. Like my parents. Like I. This is such a tough question. Thank you for asking. Um, I feel like I've got one of those old souls just because I've been around adults more often than children,
Mhm.
just like growing up and whatnot. But I was always taught, be kind, be courteous, be brave. Don't be afraid to learn to if something. Oh, this is a great example. Failure was never a bad thing in my house. So like, if there was a problem, if there was something I wanted to figure out, if I failed at it, there was no like negative consequences. There was no like punishment. There was a like let's find a different approach to it. So just that permission to learn, that permission to not do things correct 100% on your first go, I think was really important. And this belief that, or not belief, but like this I was always told I would always find my niche, and I just had to try things until I found what I really liked. And so that was always super important. And just this being kind and like you'll what's that expression? Like you'll get more flies with honey than with vinegar or something.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, so just always having like thinking the best of people, giving people benefit of the doubt.
Hmm.
Gosh, I hope that answered your question. I feel like I was just rambling.
No, no. I think that's great, and I'm curious also as to how your philosophical upbringing, or even at the present day,
Mhm.
in the present day, how that affects or influences your writing. Do you choose to stay away from certain scenarios, or are the windows and doors wide open?
Yeah, I would like to think the windows and doors are wide open, especially now as I'm an older writer. But when I was first writing A Sea of Ships and Souls, Jace gets into this fight with somebody and like he makes it out scot free. Like, and he's not supposed to. Like, he lost the fight. He's supposed to have an injury that affects him later on. And I'm like, I can't hurt this main character of mine. And so I someone talked to me about it, like, no, like it's good to show them failing so that they can succeed later on. And like you want these stakes and yada yada yada. So I do baby my characters a lot in the beginning. I'm so scared to put them in dangerous situations or put them in situations where they could get hurt, either like their feelings get hurt or they could physically get hurt. And then being forced to kind of make them face these difficult things because that makes a good story is the conflicts and stuff.
Mm.
So like I'm way too kind to my characters when I shouldn't be, and it's usually in that second and third draft where I gotta pull. I can't pull my punches anymore, and I rough them up a little bit.
They're gonna get their comeuppance.
Exactly.
I wrote a short story in Southwest literature class with my favorite instructor, Mr. Miller,
Mhm.
and it was called Conflagration at Sea.
Ooh.
And it is about a young man, maybe 21 years of age, who writes this science fiction story, this book,
Mhm.
puts it up for a competition, rather prestigious competition. Well, there's this older man, probably in his 60s or 70s. He's been submitting for decades and has never won. And the competition comes to a head with the awards being given out, and the young man and his first attempt wins. And the story that the older man submitted uh, obviously didn't even make it into the let's say the top five,
Mhm.
and he is livid. So he is going to carry out his own spite or revenge. They're having a party on a yacht out out maybe a couple miles out to
Yeah.
sea, and of course the older gentleman is not invited because he wasn't among the award winners. So what he does is he gets one of these rubber rafts with a motor attached and so forth. He's got these explosives that he wraps around the yacht. No one sees him because
Oh
it's night.
gosh. Yeah. Oh no.
And he decides, okay, and then he basically pushes off and rows away, hopefully far enough away that he can blow it up and so forth and kill everybody, including that young whippersnapper. Well, guess what? He does, except he's too close, and the bits and pieces from the explosion come raining down on him, puncturing the boat, and he ends up dying from a shark attack because of all of the blood in the water.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Here's the twist. The story the elder men submitted was that story. Yeah.
Did how he write it in the way the story ended?
That is yet to be determined.
Okay.
But I will say that my instructor, Mr. Miller, he put a note at the bottom. He praised note to no end, an A and everything. He says, I think that was the story where he says, you need to continue this story or expand it more, a little
Oh
more detail,
yeah.
because these were short stories.
Mhm.
I still have those that I hand wrote back in high school.
Oh.
These pages are 50 years old. Um, do you have stories that you just wrote when you were much younger before you began this journey,
Yeah.
this grand adventure that you're on now where you're published?
Yeah. Yeah, in high school I would write novels. They were like 13, 14 pages. They were nothing, they were nowhere close to a novel, but like I would spend months and months on them and making these stories, and they were way too big for what I could successfully write. Like
Mhm.
they're like way too big concepts, way too big worlds. And my English teacher at the time, my freshman year English teacher, he like I like, would you read this and tell me what it, and he read it. He gave me a bunch of good feedback on it, and now like he'll like all my Facebook posts about my books. I'm like, I did it for you. Like you told me I could do this, and here I am doing it. So I've got all those works. I'm so scared to read them now, just because I feel like I'm going to embarrass myself. I'm like, oh no, they're very cringy, very like high school romancy kind of things. But yeah, like to think like I was to think those grew into my published books. Um, it's really cool.
Now you're primarily doing fiction or science fiction.
Yeah.
Any thoughts at this particular point of doing anything nonfiction? Not necessarily your memoir.
Mhm.
I don't know how old you are, and I'm not going to ask,
32,
but
32.
I'm 66, twice your age, obviously. And um, I'm not sure that even though my book Choices has a lot of stories from my life that
Mhm.
help to explain the 5 steps for life, I'm not sure that I'm ready to write, let's say, my memoir. And I often chuckle when people who are in their 20s or 30s or even their 40s are writing their
Yeah.
memoir. I'm going, really?
Right. Like
But hey, who am I? Who am I?
I definitely think like I don't think I've lived through anything cool enough to write a memoir about, or like to write a book based on my life. Um, I did try to write a real world romance, sort of like a Hallmark movie, Christmas, city girl goes to the farm and yada yada yada, and it was a lot of fun to write. But I kept almost accidentally including like magic in it, and or accidentally like making a magical portal to like anyway. So I don't know if I could ever write straight like realism, just because my
Right.
mind always goes back to like whimsy and how can we amp this up, and like where's the magic going to come from, and um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you
I don't know if I
journal at all?
could. I'll go in spurts. Like I'll have like a couple weeks where like I journal every day. This is awesome, and then I'll fall off, and it'll be 6 7 months, and then I'll pick it up again. I'm really very bad habit about it.
I find it fascinating. I have 5 or 6 of those smaller blank page books, and I
Mm-hmm.
write on both sides of the page. And I did that. I started doing that when I was given one of those, I think when I was 21 or thereabouts.
Mm.
It is fascinating to read some of this stuff. Um, I always tried not to self-edit, thinking, there's in my
Yeah.
mind, I'm thinking, well, yeah, do I really want somebody else reading this?
Yeah.
Is you sure I want to, do I really want to say that or this or what have you? And I really tried not to. And then, of course, went through some personal growth programs, those 4 or 5 day encounter groups,
Mhm.
where they ask you to journal. And I've still got those. And I sometimes look through those and I'm going, did I say that?
These really my thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Although I will say, what's really nice, and I don't know where you are in this, you have some titles. You're award winner number one.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Yep.
I got an email from someone who told me I should put at the front of my name, best-selling author. No, because no one has put that on my book through Amazon or any other place. So I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's being deceptive. Now, I used to say with this program, because a gentleman and I used to do a series of programs on mythology, and he
Hmm.
submitted a couple of the programs to the oh no, was it Pulitzer Prize? Um, and that's how you get nominated. You submit.
Yeah.
All right. And so I would use the phrase Pulitzer Prize nominated, if that's the correct award.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did that for a while and then I dropped it, thinking that was back there in 2013, 2014. It's now 2026. I am a reverend. Doctor was given to me because I'm an archivalist. I consider myself what's called an audio physician.
Ooh.
I don't repair. My dad repaired appliances and so forth. I transfer from the various formats that I have the equipment to do it with, like vinyl and reel to reel and
Mhm.
cassette. The audio, I digitize it and give it back to the person so they can listen to it again for the first time.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And then someone said, "Well, you're kind of a doctor, aren't you? Dr. D." So I kind of took that on. But you have these different titles. You're now an author,
Mhm.
best-selling author as well.
Well, not best selling. You
Not
have
yet,
to, not yet, not yet.
but you're award winning.
Yep.
Award winning. All right, so we'll be clear on that. I'm lucky enough because I've written two. To I can now consider myself. I can put on the resume songwriter of two
Ooh,
songs. All
nice.
right. What about you in terms of expanding your resume? Are there other things that Jordan Keller wants to do, wants to
Ooh,
for her, not for someone else, for
yeah.
her, wants to put on that resume saying, "Yeah, I'm an accomplished pianist or, architect or whatever the case
Mhm.
might be." What else is on the horizon aside from more books?
This is gonna sound so silly. I there's a It's called Beyblade. It's competitive battle tops, and I played it so much when I was little, and I recently got re into it, and I'm doing all these competitions and tournaments, and so I think it'd be really cool to be able to put like finalists at nationals or something. Because right now the season's opened. If you place a certain high enough in these tournaments, you get invited to regionals, and the regionals you get invited to nationals, and you can play for the worlds. Um, so I think currently that would be my goal is to be able to put finalists. I don't think I can get first place, but finalists for Beyblade would be really cool.
Hey, keep thinking big. Keep thinking
Keep
big.
thinking big.
Are these those tops that you pulled a string and
Yep.
oh my God, I had those as a kid too.
Right. They're coming back. Beyblade X is the current
Oh
initiation of
my
it.
God. Oh,
It's there's a lot of physics involved. There's different like launching styles, and I'm obsessed with it. It's so much fun. Um, yeah,
that is
it's so silly.
that is so cool. Oh no, 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 not at all. Um, I mean, I don't think I'd ever go into a competition with this, but maybe I might try to online because I love playing solitaire. My mom kind of
Oh,
tapped me into that, so I play every so often with this one particular app that I have on my phone.
yeah.
But my dad taught my brother and I specifically how to play chess. And now we rarely won. My dad usually beat us as we were growing up.
Mhm.
And I think my brother and I played a few times. I don't remember what the score is. If he won a few, probably more than I. But there was always something about it. And as I've been doing these podcasts, these programs, these interviews on Tell Me Your Story, there are so many ways in which we can rewrite the neural pathways of the brain. That's got to be one of them. And one in
Yeah.
particular, I interviewed a Swami some years ago.
Mhm.
He was with what's sort of the branch off of Paramahansa Yogananda's work,
Mm.
Self Inquiry Life Fellowship, or SELF as the acronym goes. And he shared with me that in London, England, in the schools, they are teaching the kids how to read and write Sanskrit, not to bring back the language. That's not the purpose. It's because it has been found that it does just that. It rewrites,
Ooh.
reforms the what's the word I want? Logical processing,
Yeah.
the cognitive aspects. It rewrites those neural nets, neural pathways.
That's cool.
I know music does the same thing.
Mhm.
Study of what's called the Mozart effect. It helps people when they're studying.
I've
It's
heard
not
that.
a
Yeah.
yeah, it's not a long-term thing. It's right there right now. So there's so many different things, and I would think too that writing, even the kind of writing that you're doing, because it takes your imagination,
Yeah.
to which I want to ask you about. You're going back almost back to your philosophy. What about that inner voice? Is that speaking to you sometimes when you're writing, and it's like, where did that come from?
My inner voice does not shut up. So like if I'm standing in line or like walking the dog or something, I'll see like just a mundane thing and my brain will start writing it out. Like how would you capture this on page? And so that's it's always doing that. And then as I'm like now more so than when I first started writing, but like when I'm writing a scene and everything, I'll start like writing it lazily, and I feel like my brain's screaming at me like, no, 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 you've started this paragraph with a subject in all four sentences. You got to rewrite it. And so it feels more like a disciplinary voice now more than like a, a soft voice.
Hmm.
But yeah, it is constantly like drilling me like, how would you write that in the scene? And like, this is sloppy, rewrite it now. And um, yeah.
Oh man, that's so cool. I I'm wondering now when you get those impressions, I'll call them, do you start like grab your phone and put it in a notepad or do you
Yeah,
record it? How do you make sure that you don't lose it?
definitely. I always have a blank or not a notebook in my purse, since I'm always writing there, or I'll put a note on my phone. I used to work radio, so this is really funny. I hate the sound of my voice when I hear it back. So I hardly ever do audio recording of me spitballing ideas or anything. So always either handwritten in my journal or typed out on my phone note. And then usually what I save are characters or people I see in real life and like, oh, that's a character in a book, and I'll store them away. And my favorite example is I was in line at a deli shop, and the guy at the cash register was on a bucket hat and roller skates, and he would roller skate between like the sandwich counter and the register to like just make things quicker, like picking up orders and everything. And like bucket hat roller skate guy. One day he'll be in a novel. I just know it.
Oh, that's very cool. Very cool. I also used to draw, and I was definitely a fan of Star Trek and Lost in Space,
Mhm.
and I would draw multiple pages of a continuing cartoon of Lost in Space, this flying
Yeah.
saucer and the robot and all these different things, and I still have all of that stuff. And then some of the other drawings I've had of desert landscapes, well, how do I put this? They're no Monet or Gauguin, okay? But they're Dugan. And I put some of those in my book.
Ooh.
And if people go to richarddugan.com on that homepage, in addition to a link to get a copy of my book choices, along with my mug with a hat, they will scroll down and they will not only see the steps, the 5 steps listed in the flyer I created for my present wife 25 years ago when she was going through cancer treatment
Oh
and
my gosh.
chemo. She's still alive today, free and
Good.
clear for decades.
That's awesome.
Um, if you keep scrolling down past the words I put in there, you will see some of my drawings. And yeah, sure, they might look a certain way, but I actually made peace with all of that. I went through a personal growth program, and I'm curious about your perspective on this. If somebody has ever criticized you for something that you put out that was, oh, a child could have written that or
Yeah.
drawn that or did what have you. I was in one of these personal growth programs, and we were to write something down about something, and I wrote it down, but I was writing it in block letters because in cursive, I should have been writing prescriptions as a doctor because they would have never been able to read it because we were going to exchange papers.
Okay.
And one of the people stood up and made a comment about that.
You're
And
kidding.
yeah, now they
Oh.
weren't trying to be mean or anything. It was more their observation. And of course, the facilitator made a comment
Mhm.
to that effect that, I appreciate that, but you have to understand that's for him, not that they knew my history or anything.
Yeah.
That's how he's writing. And of course, I did finally stand up and say, it's so that my dyad partner can read what I wrote. It's not because I'm a child
Mhm.
inside, although I still think of myself as 17. Um, and so it's been fascinating to make peace with all of that. Sometimes I'll write in cursive, and I love here in California. I don't know about in Ohio or
Mhm.
other states. They're bringing back the teaching of cursive.
I'm very excited for it. in my I work property management, my day job, and when we sign leases with our new residents, they don't know how to sign their own name, and it's like I need your signature. You just can't print out your name here, and so that'll make my job way more easier.
And an X won't cut it, I
Nope,
don't
no,
think.
my gosh. Or
Yeah.
I'll have kids just give me their initials. I'm like, this isn't it.
Yeah. I remember also, I used to, in cursive, I used to write out my name in its entirety, Richard Dugan, in
Hmm.
its entirety in cursive on checks when I was signing a check.
Mhm.
Then I changed my signature to the R, and then it was like,
Yep.
all right. And I went to, I can't remember if it was to cash a check or something. And because I had written the signature card at the bank in the long form, they would not accept the newer
Yeah.
signature. So I then went back and I signed it in the long, and they, okay, fine. And I'm going, wow, I have my ID. Here it is. But my signature doesn't match your signature card, let alone my license.
Mhm.
So, uh, do you, when you are writing, doing it in longhand or print, or do you use the computer or a typewriter?
I mainly write on my laptop. If I'm like strand, like if I'm on an airplane or something, an idea hits me, I'll longhand it. But I much prefer writing on a computer, just because growing up in high school, I would write longhand at school, and then when I get home, I would type it all up. And I was such a slow typer then. It was just dreadful. So I don't want to have to like retype everything that I handwrite now. So most likely just typing on my laptop.
One of my other guests is a strong believer in writing like thank you notes and letters, but she
Oh,
has this old typewriter that comes in a
oh,
box that is on hinges, and you open it up, and there it is, and you have to put the ribbon in and a whole bit. I mean,
oh
this
my
goes back
gosh.
years, right?
Yeah.
And she told me near the end of the interview, because of some of the things I had shared with her about my mother, she wrote both I and my mother a letter
Oh.
complimenting my mother on that which I had shared with her
Mm.
in terms of keeping this whole business of creating and sending cards to, and actually creating cards. My mother and my remaining sisters
Mhm.
get together with my niece, probably a few other people, with all kinds of craft stuff on the table, and they are creating cards,
I
greeting
love that.
cards, and get well cards, and all of that. Maybe Christmas cards, and
Mhm.
maybe St. Patrick's Day cards, or Easter, or whatever it is, or for that matter, birthday cards.
Yeah.
And that was the reason why my guest sent her a letter. And of course, she sent me a copy of it. And I'm thinking,
Mm.
wow, um, that old school. It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Seems to resurrect. And there's not just a nostalgic reason for it, but as we were talking earlier, in terms of longhand and, of course, the brain and its neural net, there's actually a very practical reason
Yeah.
for old school. I mean, have you ever seen some of those little videos that they've got on Facebook, or I don't know if they've got them on TikTok? Somebody is walking around asking people questions, let's just say about American history or American government. And then these are very generic questions. These are
Mhm.
not political questions. How many branches of the government are there? Um,
Uh, they frustrate me, those
uh,
videos do, because it's like, what do you mean you don't know this?
yeah. I mean, you're 32, you're half my age, and you
Mhm.
probably can answer each one of those
Yeah.
questions
There
very
are some
easily.
stumpers, I'll give them that,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah,
oh,
absolutely, exactly. But it's really fascinating to watch some of those. But that's the process, isn't it? That is going on. I'm wondering how much research or reading you've done in that regard, in terms of how you, and maybe even your family, your husband and so forth, because you read, let alone you write,
mhm.
and how maybe that's the answer, let's say, to Alzheimer's and or dementia.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's a great question.
I mean,
definitely
I
think,
don't know.
yeah, yeah. It makes sense, like activating your brain and absorbing more information and regurgitating the information back.
Yeah.
It feels just like an exercise that would keep your brain sharper. Um,
And God forbid that YouTube, and I've been hit now twice by YouTube with I have two strikes right now.
oh
I could
gosh,
lose my YouTube because of the information that I just gave out here that I'm not saying is medical information, YouTube, about
oh
reading and Alzheimer's and dementia.
yeah, but they're
It's
flagging
like,
it for it.
who in the heck is processing these videos and determining, well, you got a third strike and you've lost your YouTube channel because you gave out medical
Right.
misinformation. It's not
Like
medical.
no.
It's practical. You morons. And if that gets me kicked off, then I'll go to another site like Rumble. I'm on Rumble now,
Mhm.
and I'm looking for other video outlets because I'm seriously considering just saying, this is ridiculous. None of my guests, the two people I've had on that have caused me the strikes, were giving medical misinformation. They were giving their observations.
Yeah.
Just as you, I mean, God forbid that we should get nailed for literary misinformation. Um,
Maybe I should
you're give,
preference like I'm not an expert in anything.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I'm not a doctor, not a
Not
real
a
doctor.
doctor.
I play one on the radio. Um, it's just amazing to me how some of the solutions to some of the issues that we're challenged with in our lifetime today, the solutions are so simple.
Yeah.
And you have given not only adults, but young people through your book, a sea of ships and souls. Now, a ship is a metaphor, of course, for a soul or us, even as we travel through this life and we're buffeted by the waves. And sometimes there's calm seas and sunny skies, and other times there are major storms. And by the way, one very important thing to always remember when you're in a storm on the ocean is point the bow towards the wave that's coming at you. Otherwise,
Sail
you're
into
going
it.
tumbling. But to me, that's what comes out in this particular book is you're talking about the same thing when you talk about ships and souls in
Mhm.
this particular story for young people.
Thank you. You metaphored it really great. I titled it "A Sea of Ships and Souls" because there's an ocean full of ships and these souls that the kids, Jace and Sable, the two main characters, are trying to save. So yeah,
Yeah.
and I love the sailing into the wave because that's Jace's whole thing. Like a smooth ocean never made a skilled sailor, and so him
Yeah.
having to come across all these obstacles and
And guess what? You have to
yeah.
go through the wave.
Hmm.
You can't go around it. You can't go under it or over it. And if you don't go through it, i.e., pointing the bow towards it, you get tumbled. And guess what? Now you got to figure out how you're going to,
Yeah, your situation's so much worse.
yeah. To me, and now to put that in back to the intuition, that still small voice. Has that helped you to keep your boat afloat and upright?
Yes, it. I I've got a significantly large tattoo on my leg, and like that was probably like the most pain I've ever been in. And whenever I'm faced with a challenge, I'm like, I got that tattoo, I can do this. And so just having to push through it, and just because if you don't do it now, you're gonna have to do it later, and you might as well do it now when you're more equipped to do it
Hmm.
versus the consequences of waiting. Um, so
Yeah, I
yeah.
thought about that with this situation I went through the last 10 days with this um, literary agent,
Mhm.
quote unquote, thinking, all right, don't make any commitments, go slow. And then, of course, they pushed. So I pushed back, so to speak, and I said, no, bye bye.
We
And
don't like it.
sometimes that's what you have to do, right? Did Jace
Yeah.
ever run into those kinds of situations where it's like, I know I need to go this way, but this ain't working?
Yeah. No spoilers. It happens super early on in the book, but when he's presented with this adventure of a lifetime, he says no because like why would you want me? Like I'm not. I don't have a giant ship. I know the brooch is fake, even though you don't. Like why me? And he does fight against it until finally someone gives him some wise words of wisdom, and he starts realizing what could be instead of what couldn't be,
Mhm.
and he does accept that adventure, that invitation to set sail.
This is fascinating. I love this. I love this
Thank you.
conversation with you.
Me too.
Jordan Keller. JordanSKellerAuthor.com is the website. The book, of course, we've been mentioning it throughout the program. You see it there between the two of us here on the screen. A Sea of Ships and Souls, and it is available through your website. One final question on the book. Is it available in Audible?
Not yet. So my goal this year is to really get into audiobooks. Between my different books and different publishing, there's different contracts that you have to work with. So my goal this year is to get all the information, and so next year I can start getting my books on Audible. But that is the goal for this year.
Well, if I may ask, you keep me in mind. I produce and narrate both.
Good to know.
And I love doing it for two reasons. One is because I love the creation of an Audible book.
Mhm.
Mine was really a challenge because I wrote it, that thing. But also because I will read something I probably never would have. And so I get to learn more about, obviously, the story, whether it's fiction or
Yeah,
non, but also the author. So keep me in mind if you're so inclined.
definitely.
I'd
That's
love
good
to
to
do it. I
know.
have my studio here as we're chatting away, and would love the opportunity to do that with whatever book or books that
Mhm.
I've got to get in touch with one gentleman. He's got a series of six, maybe seven novels by
Whoa.
now, and he had me record the first one, but we have never finished it, and that's going on. Believe it or not, it's going on 6 years.
Yeah, it's
And
time to
it's
give
only
him another
because
call.
we went through the move and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, I've got to touch base with him and say, hey, let's wrap this one up and let's do the second book in your series. Only this time we'll take much less time. We'll get it done much sooner.
Yeah. No more moving involved. And
Exactly. We are talking with Jordan Keller, and you're listening to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Reverend Dr. D, and she is Jordan Keller, and we are talking about the work that she is doing and has done. My understanding is, if I am correct, that you do have another book in the works. Is that right?
yes, I'm starting a major rewrite on it, so it's probably going to be another year before I'm ready to present it. But it's a young adult paranormal, a skeptic, a believer, and a half ghost are going to solve ghost crimes in their haunted Midwest town. I'm still working out the elevator pitch on it, but it's been really fun to write this sort of spooky, Scooby Dooey, just sort of over the top dramatic. I had a friend read the first chapter and like it's like Roswell, but instead of aliens, it's ghost.
Hmm.
Um, so it's been a lot of fun.
You ever seen the television program Ghosts?
It's on my list. It's on my list. My
Yeah.
my mom loves it. So
It's hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. And they've really expanded some aspects of the storyline in
Mhm.
the later in this latest season. I'm not even sure how many
Mhm.
seasons it has, two or three or four or
Mhm.
whatever. But we enjoy watching it because it is just so funny, the
Yeah.
dynamics between the ghosts and the humans. And of course, the ghosts were human before they
Mhm.
died, and each one of them dies in a different century or different millennia, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's really intriguing how they put all that together. It's also intriguing how you have put things together for yourself
Thank you.
in your career as an author, and we want to thank you for being a part of what we're doing here to maybe not change the world per se, although I think through the process that you're going through and though that which others go through in reading your work does that, but also in terms of, well, having a little fun,
Yeah.
enjoying life and the life that we've been given. And we thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast talking to you.
I have three final questions that I want to
Okay.
ask. I ask all of my guests, but before I do, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m. for our special edition of Tell Me Your Story with Lumari from lumari.com. And Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. with a special program on Wednesdays with Dennis Henson called Body of Health. Hope you'll tune in to all 9 of those broadcasts streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and for the time being, we're on YouTube and Rumble. We'll see how much trouble I get myself into with YouTube on this particular program. And quite honestly, I don't care. I have all of the
Yeah.
videos saved on my computer, and I can upload them all at a later date. Nonetheless, I hope you'll subscribe. Hope you'll subscribe as well as click notification. We hope you'll go to Amazon and click on and select Choices 5 Steps for Life. And it's available in Audible, paperback, as well as Kindle. We also hope that you can leave us a tip. We have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours, and any amount is greatly appreciative. Thank you, thank you, thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. And finally, we hope that you will take time during this, the decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, and spend some time going within and listening to and following the promptings of that still small voice. With all of that being said, we move to our final 3 questions for a very special guest. And the first of those is, who is Jordan Keller?
I'm a writer. I'm a dog mom. I'm a Beyblader. I'm a lover of stories. I hope I'm a good friend to all my friends, and I am always searching for the magic in the world.
What gets you up in the morning?
My dog. But no, I've always really liked mornings and just like that quiet moment right before everything starts like happening, and just this really quiet moment of like anything could be possible in those mornings.
Mm.
And of course, the dog.
Yes. And finally, what was your best day?
My best day. My best. Oh my gosh. Best day ever. Gosh. Best day. It's hard just to pick one, like cliche, like my wedding day, of course, graduating college, the first time I went on the radio, seeing my favorite band play live for the first time, picking up my dog for the first time. Um, I don't think I just want to have one best day. Can I say all of my days?
You can say whatever you want, whatever comes to mind. That is what will work in that regard. I never prompt the guests to a specific answer. I just want them to share with us from their perspective what their best day is. And I don't know if you know the root of that question, but it comes from a movie. Mitch was riding horseback with his 2 buddies out in the desert, and that was the question he asked them. And the movie, City Slickers.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Well, thank you. Thank you
so
for
much.
being a
Thank
part of the
you.
work that we're doing here. And we look forward to hearing from you again when you do release your next work.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we don't have to wait a whole year, but
It
we'd love to
might.
have you back on sooner.
I would love to come back. Thank you so much, Richard.
You are very welcome. And I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.